My name is Saldus Jushu Sharif. I'd like to welcome you to this webinar on careers in cybersecurity, hosted on the behalf of Africa Risk Management and Compliance. We're really excited to be here to be talking about this topic. The whole area of cybersecurity is such a crucial and important area across the world today, in the world of work as well as in our personal lives. And it's a really, really great honor to be able to have this opportunity to talk about this topic with the speakers, in particular with the speakers that we have. The order of events is that we will hear from our speakers individually about their individual cybersecurity career journeys, as well as from the ISC2, who is a leading professional body for cybersecurity certification and for the cybersecurity sector. And then what we want to be able to do is to open the floor up for Q&A. The whole point behind this webinar is to try to talk more and give more examples about successful careers in cybersecurity so that we can encourage as many of you as possible who are perhaps finishing university, thinking about what to do next, or perhaps even professionals that are already in the workplace thinking, I want to be able to take a slight change of career in terms of my area of focus. This is an opportunity for you to listen to our speakers, hear their stories, hear their journeys, and ask them questions about how they did it. So I strongly recommend that you put your questions in the chat. My colleague Sarah is collating those, and during the Q&A, we'll be able to share those questions with you. So I know that we are a little bit into the event already. We've waited. Quite a few people have joined. We have well over 30 odd people on the line. So it'll be a good idea for us to make a start. As I said earlier, it's a real honor to be able to have with us the speakers that we do, and particularly because these are speakers that are based in Africa, working for very successful African conglomerates in the financial services sector in the case of Diana, and in the telecoms, in the mobile telecom sector in the case of Joel. It's a real honor for us as well to be able to have Mark with us from the ISC. Mark is a commercial manager at the ISC, and he's going to tell us all about ISC certification. Africa Risk Management and Compliance Partners has a cybersecurity division in its business that focuses on training, which includes training and in cybersecurity. We are an accredited training partner of the ISC2, so it's great to be working with Mark again. Well, so with no further ado, what will happen is I'll introduce our speakers. I'll just say a little bit about who they are, but without going into great detail, because really what we want to do is to hear from the speakers themselves, not from the moderator. So with no further ado, I would like to be able to introduce our first speaker. Our first speaker is Diana Agba. Agba, sorry, I've got some apologies, Diana. I got the pronunciation of your name wrong. Thank you for your generosity. And Diana is the head of information security risk management at Stanbic Uganda. Diana has had a long and varied and interesting career, not just in information technology, but not just in information technology and IT, and in many aspects of IT and computing. But she now has moved into the space of information security, which involves, of course, cybersecurity as well. After hearing from Diana, we will hear from Joel Kazuba. And Joel is the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer at Vodacom Tanzania. So there's a bit of an East African feel to what's going on today. So the West Africans are probably going to be a little bit jealous, but we have to go where things are happening, and East Africa is where it's happening right now. So we'll hear from Joel, and he will tell us about his career journey And he'll also give us some insights into what information security and cybersecurity issues are like in the mobile telecom sector. We know that the mobile telecom sector is they're the new kids on the block in terms of financial services. So we're all a bit scared. So it'll be interesting to hear from them. And of course, as I said earlier, we will hear from Mark Barford from the ISC2, and he'll tell us all about his organization, why membership is such a great idea, why your career can be kickstarted in cybersecurity if you have an ISC2 certificate like Diana already has. And I'm sure she's going to tell you all about that. So enough from the moderator. It's time to hear from the speakers. I'm so excited. And I'd like to invite our first speaker, Diana, to take the stage and tell us all about her journey in cybersecurity and why we must also try to follow that journey as well. Very good morning to you, Diana. You're most welcome. I'm so excited to hear what you have to say. I'll hand the floor over to you. There it goes.
Thank you so much, Cheryl, for that wonderful introduction. I couldn't have introduced myself any better, so well done on that. Good day, everyone. Like you said, we have people across the country, so I will not be... Yes, I saw your hand up. Cool.
Sorry, that was an error. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I hope I'm audible, and I'm so delighted and excited to be here. I am passionate about cybersecurity, but more passionate about sharing my journey and hoping that it can inspire one or two people to join this career path. As we all know, there's the cry for a skill gap within cybersecurity is just so loud that you cannot miss it. Briefly to tell how did I start my career in cybersecurity, you could say that it was an indirect start because I started out having a technical background. I think gave me an easier landing. But as we'll hear from the rest, it doesn't necessarily have to be technical for you to find yourself in cybersecurity. I went out to the University of Chambogo to do telecommunications engineering. And why telecommunications engineering at that time? I think we were the third intake. And I've always been that person who is looking for the new thing. Which course is that many people have not done that will give me an edge when I go into the marketplace. And that's how I ended up doing telecommunication engineering. But while at Chambogo in my final year, I again posed the question to myself to say, we have over 50 engineers getting out of this university. What will set me apart from the rest of my group and give me an edge as I go into the field of work? And that's when we had our own colleague who had done a certificate in CCNA, Cisco Certified Network Associate from Makerere at that time, encourage us to say, guys, you can give yourself an edge, do this course so that when you're applying for a job, you have your degree, but you also have a certificate at hand. And we would do that after working, after class hours. And I finished my university, not with a bachelor's degree, but with also a certificate. And I can tell you it was that certificate that had me start out my career at Stanbic Bank as a network administrator. So that is still non-cyber, but it, in a way, I think God has his way of directing us into the right direction. So while I started out as a network administrator at Stanbic Bank then, I quickly picked interest in the security component within the network domain. Be it firewall, what does a firewall do? Why is it important? It was, and at that time, security wasn't pronounced. Even organizations didn't have units that were looking after security, but it was embedded in each and everyone. Indirectly, whoever was dealing with whatever infrastructure had to take care of the security that was within that space. If you're dealing with workstations and servers, antivirus was part of you and wasn't looked at as a security component then. But when I picked the interest in firewalls, doing traffic analysis, it intrigued me that by the time now cybersecurity was getting pronounced and saying, you know what, organizations need to pay attention to security as a distinct domain within IT, it found me ready. Indirectly, I readied myself for the opportunity within security, and you could say unknowingly. So when opportunities started showing up, I looked at networks. If you've been in networks, nothing really, apart from different protocols coming in year after year, the configuration, especially from a customer standpoint, wasn't changing that much. And I'm driven by change and challenge. So I was the first to put up my hand. I'm like, you know what? I can do security and look at infrastructure security and, piggyback on the experience I have already within network and infrastructure to ensure that now I specialize and focus on security. And that was my entry point into information and cybersecurity, and I've never looked back. And when I reached there, I said, okay, Diana, you're here. You have the knowledge you have from network security. How do you better yourself and continuously learn to become the subject matter expert that you would want to be within security? And that's when I did my first security course from ISACA, the CIDIM course. And I like sharing my story as raw as it is. My first take, I did not pass it. And when I reflect, it's because I had no experience. I was just going off, you're a learner, you can read these things and pass exam for the sake of passing. But I realized that once I had some bit of experience and exposure in doing security work, it enabled me now that certificate a second time round. The other critical component I like sharing about my journey is that from network into security, it wasn't, given on a silver platter. And I had my first no in transitioning, because the first attempt was I tried to apply for a role as application security, and I was not given the opportunity. And most of us could sit back and say, you know what, I think I'm not meant for this, because I interviewed, they didn't find me credible. But I took that no and I used the word no as next opportunity. Every time I've met that word within my career journey where I've been told a no, I'll say, no, this wasn't meant for me. How do I ready myself for the next opportunity that comes? And I continued readying myself for cyber, in that when the role for team leader infrastructure security came, I didn't have to interview, because they said, Diana had shown interest in security. We have this that is right fit for the current experience she has, so let's give her the role. The next role that I got, again, before I transitioned into that, I also applied to be manager cyber, and I was given a no. Again, they will tell you, you're not ready, you have not accumulated the right experience. I could have also, again, taken it at that point and said, you know what, this is not for me. Again, I took that no and said, you know what, okay, Stanbic has been good to me. I have walked this journey this far in cyber. If right now I'm not ready for the role that they have open, can I look outside and maybe go out and ready myself to come back for when they feel that I'm ready for this organization? So I like to call it a sabbatical. I got a role as a cybersecurity a specialist in another organization. And while there, I said, you know what? I need to prove myself that, yes, maybe I didn't present myself well in the interview, but I was actually ready for that role of manager cyber. So while at the other organization, I again said, how do I strengthen my competencies and make myself credible? I went on to do the ISC squared course, which is CISSP. And I remember the time I started, I think, the fourth lady in the country at that point to do CISSP. And also, privacy was becoming a topic within our space, so I did the Certified Data Protection Office certification. Why I'm sharing that journey of continuous learning, and where I take a pause and say, okay, I'm here. How do I get to the next level? How do I make myself better for the next opportunity that comes? So when I did that, it was recognized, and that's when I got my first managerial role as manager, information security and standards. And through that whole journey of continuous learning, of looking for opportunities to better myself, of networking with people that mentored me, and branding myself right out there, my former employee, who is now Stanbic Bank, did recognize that, you know what, the Diana that left us 4 years ago is no longer the same Diana that we see out there. she has grown actually, not to just be the next manager cyber, but she can come and head the unit of security within the organization. And that's how I get to return to turn back as head of information security. But what I take out of my journey is that I never let the no become a stop in my journey. I looked at as a next opportunity. I never stopped learning. Every step I made, then I looked back and said, okay, you're here, but is it enough? How do you ready yourself to get to the next step? And that's a continuous learning journey that I've been on. And right now where I'm at, the focus has been on how do I network? How do I get the right people to surround me, to support me, to mentor me, to coach me, to continuously better me? Because I can tell you I'm not yet where I want to be, because learning never stops. They say when you stop learning, then you start dying. Briefly, that has been my journey. And over and above networking, I am saying, okay, then I've reached somewhere, and maybe there's a journey, there's a story within your story that you can share. And I've done a lot of mentoring through the affiliate, where I'm a board member. I am part of the different professional bodies, IS2, Uganda chapter, ISACA, Shilid Tech. But that is all geared to say I am surrounding myself with the right people to continuously grow, but also to give back to this profession that still needs a lot of headcount to ensure that we are managing the cyber that is always increasing within our own organization, but within Africa as a whole. Thank you. I can take a pause there, Sheriff.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed, Diana, for that whistle-stop tour and insight into your career, which sounds fascinating. I mean, as I listen to you speak, there's some very key messages that came from what you have said and from your journey. And apart from the fact that we know that for sure you are somebody who doesn't take no for an answer, who doesn't dwell on the negative, which is great because we want to be surrounded by positivity. We are from a very positive continent. We have something like projected 40% of the world's under 25-year-olds over the next 8 or 10 years. So we all want to be in a very positive place, and I thank you for exuding that positivity to our audience. It may be worth my mentioning that our audience is made up of seasoned professionals who are already working, maybe primarily in the financial services sector, which is where we focus. But also I can see from the list a lot of undergraduates and graduates from universities across East Africa and West Africa. So having somebody like yourself, Diana, we can listen to your journey. We'll have lots and lots of questions, so we're going to make sure that the Q&A is long and people can ask questions. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your chance to put your questions in the chat for Diana and to talk about her journey. I think, Diana, what's interesting about listening to your journey is the fact that you always went out looking for what the next step in your journey would be. You never sat back waiting for somebody to come and give you the next step. You investigated, you went for certification. Certification is so important. I know that ISC2 is here. We're not saying it just because of them, but we know as Africans that certification is such an important thing, and education plays such a big part as part of our culture as Africans, from east to west, from and south and so on. So once again, it's been great hearing your journey. I'm sure that so many people would have been inspired. I know there are a lot of computer science graduates here, a lot of engineering graduates here who are thinking, hey, if Diana also is a graduate of engineering and she can do this, then so can I. Thank you so much for making the time to join us and sharing your story. And we look forward to bigger and better things from Diana. Thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker, Joel, is the Chief Information Security Officer at Vodacom Tanzania. We want to be able to hear from Joel, for him to tell us his story about how he ended up in that position, such a crucial leading position. And like Diana, I suspect that Joel is also one of these people who they think ahead, they plan ahead. So for them to end up in this most crucial place where they're amongst the most sought after, these two people are probably amongst the most sought after people for careers in Africa right now. I promise you, because I hear and I know about the people who are looking for people like that. So, hey, this is an opportunity for you to understand how they got there, how they became so sought after. And so without any further ado, I want to invite Joel. Joel, you're most welcome from the wonderful city of Dar es Salaam to come and tell us a little bit about your journey, about the organization that you work for, and to inspire the people that are on this call to join the journey to fight for cybersecurity across Africa. Joel, you're most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sadis. First of all, I wanted to acknowledge that I was really inspired by the journey, by Diana's journey. And listening to her energy and her passion, I was really inspired, and a lot of things that I've learned from her. So on my side, first of all, starting from my dream when I was a kid, everybody has dream when they grow up. So I didn't have a big dream like becoming a pilot or becoming a doctor, but my dream was to become a telecommunication engineer. And this had a background to it. When I was growing up, I grew up in a village, and it was a small family. But my dad was having trouble to call my sisters when they were in universities. So I had to like put up the appointment for these calls for texts to our colleagues or to our family members out there. So we had to ensure that we make appointment and make sure that everything is in line by that particular time, so that you can be able to given a phone in 5 minutes and complete your transaction or your communication. So that irritated me in a way that I need to become a telecommunication engineer, so that I can create a communication for my parents to be able to communicate with everyone and make cell phones and all these communication very cheap. So I went ahead with that, and I did my high school. I went in university as a computer science, a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. But when I was doing my bachelor, I had privilege to own my own laptop, and but ever since every time I used my laptop, it was for sharing. So I was sharing with my colleagues in universities. When I use my laptop, the only thing I cared about is to ensure that when I give this laptop to somebody else, they will not be able to see my files. They will not be able to even know what I was walking into in the laptop. So I developed a mindset of security, ensuring that I secure my files. When I pass on the laptop to somebody else, they will not be able to even know what files I opened. So I started researching, like, how can I be able to secure my personal files in the laptops, in the computer, in the lab computers. And then everyone, when they go into a cybersecurity career, they also start thinking about hacking other computers. So I started developing viruses, so that the thing that I care about, the privacy of my files. I also developed a mindset of having to know what somebody else was doing. So I started developing scripts when I can be able to hack into another computer. So I developed cybersecurity interest back in the university. Unfortunately, when I was about to get into employment, I didn't find a job that will lead me into cybersecurity. So I was offered two roles. One was with Tigo Telecommunication Company, in the biggest communication company in Tanzania here, but back then, as a database administrator. And then I was given another offer as an ICT supervisor in the guard force, biggest company here for security guards. So if you compare the salaries for this job, so the ICT supervisor in the guard force was almost a quarter to what I was going to get as a database administrator in a telecom company. So I turned down the offer of becoming the database administrator just to know that when I go into the guard force, I'll be able to do cybersecurity. So I joined that company. Unfortunately, it was more into just IT, ensuring that you provide uptime for the systems, for the clients and the like. So I spent there 4 months, and then I joined the telecom company reached out to me if I'm still interested by the role. I told them I'm not interested by being a database administrator, and I had my reasons because I didn't want to confine myself in just one area of expertise. But they offered me a system engineer role where I was now integration engineer, doing system development and support systems. That was an interesting role for me, and I did it passionately. Despite that, I had developed cybersecurity interest, but I didn't do any certification back then because the only thing that I cared about is doing the current role very perfect and ensuring that I deliver with what I currently have. So after 2 years, my colleagues reached out to me that there is an opening in a bank. I was very interesting because it was a cybersecurity role. I was offered a job as a cybersecurity administrator, enterprise administrator in a bank called NMB. So it was my first cybersecurity job. I was really excited by getting that. And the good part is, back then, cybersecurity was not like a unit in a certain organization. When I reached out there, I was reporting into enterprise architect, and I was the only person dealing with cybersecurity. So I did transformation, a lot of transformation in the bank. I took up the challenge of ensuring that I build information security program of the bank. So when I got that first job first, I had to transform myself from the normal citizen normal IT by doing certified ethical hacker back then. So it really changed my mindset on how I approach security. So it opened up a lot of ideas of how somebody can get compromised by not caring about small things. So that also guided me that, okay, now I need to take vulnerability management and the information security program and other program that comes with information security very serious, because somebody can really attack not just the script kit that I had. I was in the universities. This is the real thing, and it can cause a damage in organization. So I had a very strong mindset in cybersecurity, and the program that I was doing there, and that led into promotion after promotion in the bank, and we ended up building a centralized cybersecurity team there. But after 6 to 7 years of serving the bank, I was offered this role that I'm currently holding at Vodacom Tanzania as the head of cybersecurity, chief information security officer in Vodacom Tanzania. It was, I can say it was a bigger role back then. But the time I was joining, I was afraid whether I can be able to deliver, whether really I can be able to deliver cybersecurity in a telecommunication industry, in a technology company like Vodacom. So I was very nervous. But when I joined, my mindset and the courage kicked in. I followed best practices to ensure that I implement the best cybersecurity program here at Vodacom. The good part is the technology is already ahead. It's just that to make sure that that technology is implemented in the best practice possible, making sure that processes and people are organized in such a way that we can deliver cybersecurity program at Vodacom. So I'm currently doing that here, and passionately, I can tell you it's an interesting role. Now, I did a couple of certification before I started a career at university. So the main goal was to ensure that whatever I'm studying, it's not just a theory, right? So I did certification around CCNA, Cisco. I did Microsoft Certified Enterprise Administrator. I did Oracle certifications back then because I was doing IT. And on top of CEH that I did when I was at NMB, I also did CSSP. CSSP is the certification that really helped me implement information security program at NMB, because the way I approached it is not just for me to get a paper, CSSP, but rather it was like a workshop. So my start as CSSP was like a workshop. So I go in, tackle first topic, and then from that topic, what was it referenced by CSSP? Being it NIST cybersecurity framework, I'll go into NIST cybersecurity framework, read it, understand what it means, and even come up with action item on job that, okay, CSSP told me the best practice is this. At NMB, what do we do? Do we do as per the best practice? I do. I put a to-do list based on the CSSP. So it took me a lot of time to certify CSSP, because I approached it as a workshop for me to help me implement the best practice at NMB. So after that, I did CISM, the CISM from ISACA, just to augment all the information that I've learned in CSSP and the leadership into cybersecurity, ensuring that the cybersecurity program is implemented properly. Yeah, so what next is still, I've not reached where I supposed to reach, as Diana said, as well as on my side. So I'm still learning. The learning is a journey. If you take it that way, you will continue learning. So I'm still learning new skills. I'm still learning the threat landscape to understand what's happening out there, what we can change quickly, because cybersecurity is the dynamic role. You can't have something static for over a year without thinking of a new control to implement on top of what you've done. Yeah, so that's it. And thanks for letting me share my journey.
Thank you very much indeed, Joel, for that journey. I was fascinated by what I was hearing. And everything that you said was just something new for me to pick up on and to learn as well. Just like with Diana, I see two people who are very, very passionate about their field. And it's interesting that you both came from an engineering and IT engineering background. And you were both ready and willing to take a job that wasn't the job that everybody said was the job that you should get and where you should be in order for you to be where you are today. It's so inspiring to see this. I'm so inspired by this webinar. We do a lot of webinars at ARMC Perspectives, and but this is one of the ones that I have found most fascinating myself personally, listening to your personal journeys as well. I am so impressed by the fact that the belief in certification, the way you guys believe in certification, and there's somebody who is about to speak who I know is also going to back up that story. Because he's from the ISC2. His name is Mark Barfoot, and the ISC2 is the leading cybersecurity professional body globally, and they do a lot of certification. And in fact, the two people who are the speakers on this call, these two amazing journeys, they have both done certificates from Mark's organization, ISC2, the CISSP certificate. So, with no further ado, and to make sure that the moderator is not the reason why the call is taking place, I have nothing to tell you people compared to the people that are on this call. I'd like to invite Mark. Mark, you're most welcome to this webinar. We really want to hear what you have to say about the ISC2, about what is going on in the world, the global world of cybersecurity and cybersecurity certification and careers, and really to tell us and encourage us to know how to get involved in obtaining a cybersecurity certificate. And also, I might just add, and I'm sure you will say the same, that ARMC's cybersecurity program involves providing training in ISC2 courses, certification courses, because we are partners, training partners for the ISC2. But putting that to one side, Mark, you're welcome. The floor is yours. Tell us, why should we choose a career in cybersecurity, especially with the ISC2? Thank you.
Thank you, Saldus. Thank you, everybody. I don't quite know how I'm going to follow the two people that have been before. It is great to hear that the certifications that ISC Squared provide have been of assistance to both Diana and Joel. So I'm going to, unlike the previous two people, I'm going to try and share some slides with you. Let's see how that goes. Are you seeing slides, everybody?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. So a lot of people on this call will be looking at how they get into cybersecurity. We've heard a couple of different routes from Joel and from Diana that have been very successful, and I know that both of them have had to work extremely hard to get to where they are. As ISC Squared, we're a certification body. We are most well known for our CISSP certification. It's great to see Joel and Diana with those. We also have, which is very relevant in this conversation, an entry-level cybersecurity certification. And the idea of this is to fill some of these empty seats in cybersecurity. I'll give you a statistic from our workforce study. Which was completed November of last year. There are 4.7 million people working in cybersecurity around the world, which is a big number. What is a bigger, scarier, and provides a bigger opportunity for all of us on this call number is the fact that there is a gap. So there are still 3.4 million spaces, 3.4 million vacant seats that need to be filled in the cybersecurity profession. And that gap is growing faster than we are filling them. So huge opportunity within cybersecurity for everybody to begin a skills journey. A little bit about ISC Squared. We are the largest not-for-profit membership association for cybersecurity around the world. As was mentioned earlier, we have chapters across Africa that you don't need to be ISC Squared certified to join. It will be run by ISC Squared certified people, but look up your local chapter. You'll find it on our website, iscsquared.org. Get involved in your local chapter. They will be able to help you with more information. I will be able to help you with more information. And very, very particularly ARMC, Saldus and Sarah will be able to help you with more detail on these things. ISC Squared as an organization don't just provide education. We also work alongside businesses and governments to advocate for the cybersecurity profession. It's one of the reasons why we produce that workforce study each year, to highlight what we need to do as a business and what the cybersecurity community needs to do in order to adapt to the threats that we face as they change. some nice dots, and here's a very scary statistic. 55% of the people who we surveyed in our study said that their organization was at risk or at serious risk of an attack purely due to staffing shortages, not due to the technology they're using, not due to the way their systems are set up, purely due to the staffing shortages. That's where everybody on this call can make a decision to help. ARMC can certainly help you with advice on where to go next. If you are new to cybersecurity, we have the ISC Squared certified in cybersecurity, which unfortunately wasn't available for either Joel or Diana when this was when they went through their journey. We have a purely entry-level certification. This requires no previous cybersecurity experience. Some IT experience is helpful, but it's not essential. As part of our research into workforce, we asked hiring managers why they hire, what are they looking for? And one of the biggest revelations from the research over the past few years has been how open cybersecurity hiring managers are becoming to candidates without previous cybersecurity experience. They're looking for analytical thinkers, they're looking for problem solvers, they're looking for people who can work independently, they're looking for people who can work as a team, creatives, very interesting, important part of cybersecurity problem solving, being creative. A little bit of business acumen in there as well is always helpful. And those roles that you can slot into vary quite a bit from very, very entry level, doing tasks like alert monitoring, document processing, a little bit of scripting language. It's not a huge part of cybersecurity. It's a specialization that, if you have an aptitude or a desire to go into, you can certainly push yourself into a very well-trodden niche there. But it's not something that you must have in order to be able to get yourself onto the ladder of cybersecurity. As you move through your experiences, you'll find that your tasks will change. Typically, you'll start to move from incident response to intrusion detection, from documenting processes and procedures to actually carrying out the tasks related to those processes and procedures. And our cybersecurity and the product that ARMC can help to provide you with is a very good way to get you onto that initial rung of cybersecurity. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, because there are thousands of people on TikTok who will tell you that, cybersecurity is where the money is. Cybersecurity roles are out there. Cybersecurity and being able to demonstrate familiarity with the concepts of cybersecurity is becoming a staple requirement. I remember when Microsoft Office was first launched, companies were asking for people with proficiency in particular parts of Microsoft Office. That's what we're having at the moment with cybersecurity. If you are looking to be an engineer, if you're looking to be a project manager, if you decide that you've looked at cybersecurity and you don't think that is the way that you are going to go in the initial part of your career, having the fundamental understanding of the concepts of cybersecurity will make you a more valuable employee. Cybersecurity is not just for cybersecurity professionals. It's very important that we have those cybersecurity professionals, but it is not just for those people. So Our entry-level certified in cybersecurity certification will give you the opportunity to have a look into cybersecurity and find out a little bit more about whether it is something that will suit you. Many groups, and I'm sure all of these groups are represented on this call, relevant for all of you. Have a look at it. Experience. Experience has often been a barrier within the cybersecurity industry. Our certified in cybersecurity course, along with ARMC, will give you the opportunity to get the foundational knowledge you need in order to stand out from other people during the application process. You don't need any particular pre-experience. If you're a problem solver, if you've got an analytical mind, this will work for you. And what it will give you is good knowledge across these 5 domains within cybersecurity. And these are domains that previous speakers will find very familiar because they are part of the CISSP certification. This knowledge that you'll learn will enable you to speak using the same terminology as the CISO, as the ICT manager with responsibility for cybersecurity. You'll have the same terminology. You'll have a shared language where you'll be able to understand what is required as you move up through. It's a relatively short process. It's a fairly short exam. Certainly much more straightforward than the CISSP exam that our previous speakers have both taken. It's multiple choice. It's available in Pearson centres around the world, and available from ISC Squared. And there's no reason why you can't get started immediately. ARMC can certainly help you. Reach out to me. I can help you. The gap within cybersecurity is such that we need to act now. We need to act quickly, and we need to be inviting people to look at cybersecurity as a career path who have started out on other career paths. If you started out looking at engineering, for example, if you started out looking at project management, look towards cybersecurity. If it isn't a specific role that you are going to pursue, the foundational knowledge that you will have from undertaking a certification within cybersecurity will stand you in very good stead in any job role. Businesses across the world are looking at cybersecurity, understanding of cybersecurity fundamentals as increasingly a must-have, certainly a nice-to-have for everybody. It's increasingly becoming a must-have. If I go back to the analogy of Microsoft Office, you don't see, unless it's a specialist role anymore, you don't see people asking for Microsoft Office experience anymore because they assume we all have it because we've been familiarizing ourselves with it for years and years. That is what we need to strive for within cybersecurity, getting to the point where we know everybody has a foundational understanding of cybersecurity. That's a very whistle-stop tour from me into cybersecurity. Thank you all very much for your time. Please feel free to reach out to me or to Saudis and his team, and we can certainly provide you with more detail, more information. Thank you very much. Over to you, Saudis.